Hey guys, welcome into the PuggoReborn channel. We are back with the finale, that is, of the Battle Hounds. Now, if you are new to the channel, this might be a great time to sub up. if you guys do like this video, please hit the like. This is a really hardcore roleplay finale, and it is going to get pretty dark. So I have to forewarn people if you are squeamish. I guess I don't even know why. You're watching this video for a reason, right? So have fun with it, of course. And if you do have a character in this playthrough, I love you guys. Let's do this. And so the scene sets place in the kingdom of Rosenving. Now Rosenving is a luscious kingdom to the north, of course, consumed by snow, loving its lands. It called upon a lone mercenary, Hagen, for the day. Hagen, getting this letter, he was told to go to the kingdom, for they needed a sword master. Without any hesitation, of course, Hagen had made his trip to it. You must train the Lord's boy on how to fight, said the royal guard. There was one room, everything set to the side, a beautiful red rug with gold imprints across the whole thing, and a perfect day for such an affair of dueling with swords. The boy was about 7 years old, and he was very eager, of course. Hagen, being as much of a professional as he can, says, "Make sure you hold the blade out. Now, a man is only as good as his skill, not the blade." "Well, that doesn't make any sense," said the boy. "Oh, it doesn't. If I gave you my noble sword, would you be able to defeat me? All I need is your stick, and I'd strike you down. The skill behind the man, not the skill behind the sword. The point is, I need you to listen, child. The only way for you to be great is to show your greatness through the blade and your skill." And so the boy lined up in the same way that Hagen had. Put the sword out. Now swing to your left. Easy enough. Oh, come on, I could do that with a blade. Okay. Now pivot your elbow back up to the sky with the sword at your side. Okay. If I swing, after you swing, you immediately need to be ready to riposte. The idea of blocking and then striking is key. That sounds easy. Okay, I'm sure it does. But can you continue this, boy? As they continued practicing, the sun now starting to set in the distance, what seemed like a few minutes turned into hours. The king's royal guard came in, saying, "Everybody to your knees. The king is arriving." As they all dropped to one knee, the king walking in, 2 soldiers in the front, 2 soldiers in the back, watching over him. Hagen, the sword master, the mercenary of the Battle Hounds. How you have caused so much pleasure among these lands, destroying the orc invasion with your men, and also taking on the south. Well, that's a whole nother story, though I am very thankful for this. Our house needs a man like you. We need a sword master. And you claim to be one, do you not?" Thinking about it and kind of chuckling to himself, I don't know if I'm much of a sword master, but I'm going to do my best. He eagerly nods. Yes, of course. I am a sword master and a mercenary. These two things do not go hand in hand. See, if you're going to fight for our house, if you're going to be a part of our house, you need to renounce the mercenary band, Battle Hounds. Hagen, on one knee, looking up at the king, settles his head. They are my brothers, but I do live by the sword, and your boy has a lot of promise. I will renounce my mercenary way." As the king was very pleased by this, looking at his hands, looking at the rings on his hands, he put out his hand over Hagen's head, not quite touching it, but putting his hand out to his head. "I, King of Rosenving, I announce you the sword master, Hagen of House Rosenving." And as that happened, smack right on his head. Hagen, feeling a little discomfort, thinking, what the frick was that? Another right to his face. And in the background, he starts hearing, ha 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 ha. Then more men, ha 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 ha. Bunch of men laughing, afraid to open his eyes and put his head up. He didn't want to be denounced. And of course, the weird feeling, oh my gosh, it's like flaccid of sort. It's skinny. It's so fleshy. And bang, like 2 coin purse. What the hell is this? Hagen, finally opening his eyes, realized it's nighttime, and the men are standing around on the outside of a fire, laughing at him and pointing. Hagen goes to look up, and sure enough, that damn Mangy standing over him, whack right on his face again, his nuts and all hitting him. Oh, you like that, boy? Ha 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 ha. Hagen, what the frick? Whack one more time. Oh, do you like your nuts hot or do you like them cold? Ha ha ha. What kind of noble house did you fight for today, you son of a bitch? Hagen, pissed off, standing up. What the frick, guys? I thought we were friends. What are you doing? Friends, we're mercenaries. You stupid man. Grab your sword. We had to wake you up. It's time for you to patrol out in the woods. Hagen, of course, disgusted by this. Well, who's on patrol tonight, then? Well, tonight you have Lothar, which he's been tapping his bow for a while, shooting off into the woods for God knows what. And I'm not really sure who's already out on duty at the moment. But you better get going, because my nuts are getting cold, and I asked you before, but you didn't listen. You like hot or cold nuts? And don't get all personal about it. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, sure, you get a flea or two, but who cares? Hagen really pissed off, the men laughing. Ha ha ha. Oh, man. Well, tomorrow is the big day, of course. We need to start planning for this fight. And so, Wolf the Bear, standing off to the side, pulling out his map, he points, alright, boys. The fight is going to be fairly easy. The Silent Ones are very, very, well, silent, but we will know if we're close to them. In the morning, they send out a group of men to go and hunt for them. However, they use one of their captives, and while we could attack them before they leave, it's definitely more wise to attack them when they're disabled. But they will kill an innocent, this we know, but that will give us an idea of where they're at. In the morning, one Unhold is known for going out and throwing a stake into the ground. And then they will take a captive and throw the captive on the stake through the stomach just above their belly and into their rib cage, allowing them to scream for a good 30 to 40 minutes before dying. Instead of hooting and hollering, that's their way of letting people know that they're there or a distraction. We need to be aware of this. Our men who are going out, Hagen, you will leave in the morning. I need you to keep an eye on it, so maybe you get rest here soon. However, we should be ready. The field will kind of expose us, but the steeps within the snow region should hold us until then. We will be fine come morning, and it has just dusk. Anybody who's drunk, get it out of your system, you bastard. Standing there talking to the men huddled up, there was one man that was not with the company. Jolton the Fang King, rather. Jolton never leaving his armor, there was a concern among the men as to what was going on with him. He didn't want to leave the armor. The wretched stench that must be coming from him must be unbearable, but he is stuck in a trance of some sort. He really has adapted this barbarian king mentality among the men, and they respect that, of course. But him sitting at the fire in this way, the bronze / rusty helm, still staring and peering off into the fire. No one could ever see his eyes. Some had actually forgotten what his eyes even looked like. But the flames bouncing and shimmering off into the woods. Our camp being not far from a field in the opening, there was a concern that maybe something would come through the night, but doubtful. Jolton sitting there, turning Seeing the horns turn, flashing, the flickering through the woods, he would look off. Still sitting there. Nothing but a thought. A silent night at that. Wolf ends up turning, of course, and says to him, "Are you going to be a part of this or what? Jolton, we need you for this combat, of course, and you need to see this map. It's very vital that you be a part of this. We need our leader." Jolton, looking down in the flames again, turning his head to the right, looking across, peering and into the soul of Wolf. "Are you going to say something?" Then Jolton stands up slowly, grabs the butt of his axe, picking it up just enough where it's not touching the ground, walks over to Wolf. Looking back towards the flames, he stares into Wolf's eyes. "Tell me, Wolf, can a wolf howl with no teeth?" The wolf just sitting back. He's like, "Why are you asking me this, Jolton? We're talking about going to battle tomorrow. Whether it's easy or not, you need to be a part of this." Jolton, putting his finger up, almost in a hushing stance, he turns it horizontal, puts it up to the wolf's chin, and says, "Can a wolf howl with no fangs?" Of course, Wolf saying, I don't know what you want from me. I have no idea what you're talking about." Jolton then, in a very harsh, shoving manner to the side, putting him off, swings around him. Of course, he sees Mangy sitting there as a raider would, with a little bit of a smirk on his face. He gets down to one knee, for Mangy is sitting on a stump, and he says to him, "Mangy, why are you so broken?" Mangy being broken? "Ha! I'm not broken. I'm alive, I'm good, I'm well. Oh, you plunder, you rape and pillage. Why so happy now?" "I've atoned, I'm good. Why ask?" You are like broken branch. Stay strong, Mangy." Mangy completely confused. Very, very disheartening to know that Jolton is just almost as if it's a repeat of times past when he would call out the ones that were weak. Taking a bit of offense to this, Thorax says, What are you talking about? Why are you doing this?" Good Father then walks in. "Boy, stop. Everything is fine. Why do we have to fight each other on these different stances? It's a little tense. This is a different fight, and it is going to be dangerous, but we must be very prepared for whatever comes." Finally, Pegasus, sharpening his blade. "Gonna be the best dagger master you ever did see, guarantee you that." Jolton Fang walks past Pegasus. He looks down at his blade, and he says, "Protect that blade of yours. Sheath it now." Of course, Pegasus just kind of doing his thing. He puts it right into his leg pocket. A little hidden place he wanted to use for any point where he needed to throw his sword down and make a quick kill or two. Jolton Fang slowly putting his axe right into his side. With both hands, slowly walks to the edge of the forest. It was about 25 yards from the actual campfire itself. The tents placed up around, and everybody confused. "What the hell was that?" said Wolf. "What is wrong with him? Why is he acting like this? I don't know that I've ever seen him like this before. I mean, of course, there was a time calling people out, but he was broken." Of course, Thorax saying, I don't know. He's a very different person, but we have to continue this leadership through him. What else do we have?" Hagen being the one that was more rational and willing to talk to guys to figure things out, Hagen decided, "Hey guys, I will go talk to him. I'll see what's going on." So as Hagen walks from the campsite and starts following out into the woods, he notices how the snow slowly falls. It's just such a quiet night. The moon lit just enough that the trees themselves definitely had their defining shapes, being that the snow and the darkness all together entwined. Whether you consider it the most dangerous place on Earth, or possibly the most beautiful thing you've ever seen on Earth, it was a cold night. Hagen walking up behind Jolton Fang. Jolton, man, what's going on? Why are you doing this? Why are you acting like this? Did somebody say something wrong? What's your problem? And Jolton standing there at the edge of the forest, the steam rolling out the chain links from his face. Couldn't hear anything but the breath rising from his helm. Listen, it's Hagen. You know me. Why are you acting like this, Jolton? We follow you. We believe in you. You're not just an axe. You're not just the armor on your body. You are Jolton, the person that we brought in. We believe in you. You've taken this company. Stop acting like this, Jolton. Jolton, it's a quiet night, isn't it, Hagen? Yeah? What's your point? It's quiet. Hagen, finally realizing he's not just standing there, he's staring off into the field. He looks out into the field and sees what looks like it's just so dark out there, but there is like these shadows in a line. As Hagen starts to take a step out, looking back at Jolton, looking back out, as he realizes that the steam is rising and giving a different hue in the light, he turns back to look in the direction that Jolton is looking. And sure enough, it is different figures, big, taller figures out on each side. And the breath is rising, the heat is rising from these bodies. Oh my gosh, guys! They're here! There's someone here! Hagen runs back into the forest towards the camp. Get your arms, get ready! All of a sudden, the thuds of the unholds walking into the lands, and the different men rising in. All you can hear through the forest echoes. Jolton turns around and walks backwards towards the men, and all you hear is and as every man grabs what he can, does whatever he can to get ready for combat, the ambush had begun. And here is where we continue the combat. Jolton taking some steps forward to watch the men as they fight for their lives. Continue the fight, boys! Run in! Every man for himself, it would seem. The odds stacked against them. More started pouring in as the fight continued. Where do they come from? Even the men that had died were rising. What could this be? Why is this happening? Continuous. Not being able to tell who is who at this point. Continue the fight! Don't give up! More people started dying. The silence was starting to get greater as it went on. Not being able to hear the brothers on the other side of the forest. What made this fight so difficult was the fact that they did not holler when they were getting hit. They didn't make noises. More raising from the ground. Good father. Good father putting as much as he could, not having his armor. He put his staff up in the air, screaming, "Ah!" as the hammer came down, snapping the staff in half and crushing his head into his chest cavity. Disoriented, every man for himself at this point. I can't do it. I can't do it. As the battle commenced, the men were dying both sides, death everywhere. Another swarm of barbarians came into the fold. And so the sounds rose. Where were the rest of the men? Jolton and Fang, standing closer to the camp, with his back towards the fire. The men get brought in one at a time. First comes dragging across Mangy, his arms behind his back being held by one unhold, dragging him across the snow, holding him upright. Then Wolf the Bear being brought in by two chosen barbarians. The chosen barbarian put him to his knees. Holding his arms down, Wolf the Fang is yelling, "Why? What are you doing, Jolton? Jolton, why? Why are you doing this?" And then Vasily comes walking through with the Reavers. A beast master walks up with a whip, wraps it around the wolf's neck. Oh! While all three are sitting there, Jolton with his back to the flame as it rises up, the ashes and all the sparks flying around into the woods. "Why are you doing this, Jolton?" Wolf the Fang exclaims. Then Pegasus gets dragged into the ring. Pegasus back to his knees, being held by his hair, held back with his neck exposed. "Oh, what are you doing, Jolton?" Jolton, turning around, slowly walks to the Wolf the Bear. And as he walks up to him, he says, "Tell me, can a wolf howl with no teeth?" And he goes, "Screw you, Jolton! You piece of shit!" As he says that, Jolton takes one step towards the fire with his back towards him, and with one fell swoop he grabs the end of his axe with a full motion as if he was swinging a bat for his life, turns with the butt end of the axe, swings through, smashing Wolf the Bear in the mouth, tearing all of his teeth out, ripping the flesh from cheek to cheek, his jaw dislodging down to the side, his tongue irrecognizable. "Oh, oh, oh, oh!" He screams. As the barbarians let go of him, he gets both hands on the ground, Jolton looking at him. He puts his hand out and taps his finger to his thumb. Both barbarian chosen grab their cleavers and swing to the ground as hard as they can, severing both of his hands except for his thumbs, clear off. "Oh! Oh!" as he exclaims on the ground, just in unbearable pain, near the point of passing out. Jolton walks up and pulls his head. "Tell me, can wolf howl with no teeth?" "Oh! No, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?" Thorax yells. As he does yell, The Unhold grabbing him, trying to hold him as he's trying. He grabs whatever he can to try to beat the Unhold. Of course, it's ineffective. But Jolton, silence. But nothing. He continues to flail around as Pegasus starts yelling as well. He ends up grabbing Mangy, saying, "Leave alone! Why are you doing this?" He puts his hands up, grabs his axe, and with a swoop upwards, totally splits from underneath his chin, blowing his head up from the outside. The brains and all the blood flies off onto the Unhold's face. Unhold, being a little surprised, drops the body right then and there. Thorax is no more. With everybody else in panic, "What are you doing?" Mangy says, "Stop! You are one of us! Don't you remember, Jolton?" Jolton, standing there, puts his hand up. Silence. But still, Mangy continues. Then Jolton brings his left hand out, his pointer finger horizontal. The Unhold then grabs Mangy by the head and by his neck, grabs one of his legs, picks him up, rises him over his body, his stomach facing the sky. Jolton then slowly bends his finger down. As the Unhold bends him, like a branch, he starts to bend him in his back. You can hear it, one pop at a time. Pegasus, "Stop! Stop! Stop! What do you want, Jolton? Let him go! Let him go!" Jolton, looking at Pegasus, "What do you mean, I want? I am the barbarian king." Pegasus, realizing that Jolton has no sense anymore, he takes one last-ditch effort, rips his hand loose, grabs the dagger in his pocket, turns it around, stabbing the Chosen in the leg. Oh, the Chosen does everything in his power not to make a sound, then stabs him in the neck. Oh, blood rushing down the side of his neck. Pegasus then trying to let his other arm loose. As he goes to pull his left hand and he tries to pull it back, all of a sudden, his wrist gets grabbed. Pegasus looking back, all of a sudden, Jolton, having his right hand on his wrist, uses his left hand on the palm and the back end of the knife, turns the knife and dags it right into his throat. Pegasus pleading. Jolton looking at him. Shh. He takes the knife out of his hand, with Pegasus doing all he can to hold the blood. He grabs the dagger and pulls it, rips it towards him, pulling his throat clear out, ripping the tendons, ripping every ligament, blood gushing, spraying out towards Jolton. Pegasus, in complete disbelief and blacking out in the very eyes of Jolton's bronze helm. He turns Pegasus with his right hand in his neck, his left hand holding the shoulder. He slowly dips his head into the fire. And as he holds him there, as Pegasus resists for a moment, slowly becomes lifeless. And the burning sensation from the back of his head, peeling the skin up and around to his face, his eyes turning brown and sinking into the back of his skull. Jolton slowly stands up. Wolf, being able to barely see but understand everything that was happening. Oh! Mangy being held up. Jolton walking up to him, kneels back down, looking at the wolf. "Tell me, wolf, can a wolf howl with no teeth?" The wolf trying everything again. Just in absolute pain. "One last time. Can a wolf howl with no teeth?" And as he says that, the wolf, doing everything in his power to save Mangy's life, looks to him and goes, "Oh! Oh!" Jolton then putting his finger underneath his jaw, bringing it back up, the pain. "Oh, my pet wolf." He turns around, puts his finger horizontally, and slowly goes and taps his palm. The Unhold then, lifting him even higher, slowly bends until finally Mangy's back completely snaps. The Unhold from his head forces up the backbone through his stomach, piercing through his skin. Mangy lively and legs dangling. The other Unhold grabs the stake, poof, right into the ground, and the other Unhold holding Mangy slams Mangy through the stake, with the pike sticking through his neck. Lifeless, the wolf on all fours with his leash, the whip. Jolton slams his axe into the ground, turns side to side, the glimmering light shining through the forest. He looks off to his men. Shh. Silence. Silence throughout the whole crowd. The barbarian chosen that was injured falls dying on the ground without a sound. Everybody starts chanting out the sound. It echoes through the forest, and that, my friends, is how this series ends. I will tell you this, there is definitely more to come, and I hope you guys did enjoy that. Without further ado, a little bit of music before we leave out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks again.